In a dramatic turn of events, Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's 15-year reign has come to an end following weeks of protests against her government over the quota for descendants of the 71 War of Independence. Jubilant crowds took to the streets to celebrate the news, with some storming the Prime Ministerial palace, looting and vandalizing parts of her former residence. Hasina's resignation and departure has created a leadership vacuum, leading to a situation described as quote-unquote uncharted territory. Since then, the army has announced that an interim government will be formed in Bangladesh until elections are announced. Although her whereabouts were initially unknown, Sheikh Hasina has taken safe haven in India for now. Meanwhile, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has issued a statement in Parliament sharing that India had received a request for movement of the former Bangladeshi Prime Minister to our country on a very short notice. In the next few minutes, viewers, we are going to take a deep dive into the circumstances that led Sheikh Hasina's prompt departure from Dhaka and her entire travel trajectory all the way to India. The situation in Bangladesh had been volatile and dangerous for a few weeks after the protests resumed. We are then getting to know that thousands of students had entered Dhaka via the Ghazipur border, which aggravated the overall situation in the capital city of Bangladesh. Sources are also indicating that Sheikh Hasina held a meeting with the Army's National Security Council at 1 p.m. to comprehend the gravity of the situation and secure her own well-being. Certain army officials were in favor of her while others were opposed to her. That is when she realized that she was not safe in the country. She secretly tendered her resignation after 15 years of being Bangladesh's Prime Minister. This took place at 1:30 p.m. She was forced to depart very promptly. In fact, reports are indicating that she had a whole 45 minutes simply to flee from Dhaka. At 2:30 p.m., Sheikh Hasina and her sister took a Lockheed C-130J Hercules military transport jet via flight Ajax 1431 from the Prime Minister's office in Dhaka. This has become the most tracked flight in the world. After her departure, protesters entered the PM's palace and looted and vandalized the entire property. By 3:25 p.m., she had crossed Kolkata, thus entering the Indian territory. Soon she landed at the Indian Air Force Base in Agartala, Tripura. Sources are indicating that she was then directly, in fact, heading to London. However, amidst those rumors, the helicopter trajectory went untraceable, close to Lucknow. At 5:36 p.m., Hasina and her sister landed at the Hindon Air Force Station near New Delhi. Subsequently, at 7:15 p.m., National Security Advisor Ajit Doval met with Sheikh Hasina at the Air Force Station. Later, visuals of NSC Doval's car surfaced in which you can see him exiting the station. At 8:30 p.m., India's top security body, headed by Prime Minister Modi, met on the situation in Bangladesh. Sheikh Hasina reportedly spent the night at the Hindon Air Base safe house. Today, 2 Government of India VIP vehicles reportedly entered the Hindon Indian Air Force Base. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has also briefed our parliamentarians in both the lower and upper houses on what exactly transpired. What is it that we know? Quickly, listen in. We will try to bring in that audio clip of Dr. S. Jaishankar in the Parliament. Meanwhile, let me bring in Major General Rajan Kochar. We also have with us PK Mishra and Group Captain Dr. MJ Augustine Venod with us on the broadcast. Let me begin with Major General Rajan Kochar. Major General Kochar, I want to understand from you, sir, in the little bit of information that we have with us, was it really a decision that was taken in 45 minutes, or was this something that Sheikh Hasina with her advisors was perhaps having to consider for the past many days?
Thank you for inviting me to the program. I don't think it was a sudden decision because things were happening, and I think finally what last 48 hours I think were crucial before her departure, because she saw this situation developing, and Prime Minister's office has also a principal a staff officer of the rank of a major general from the Bangladesh army, and he is supposed to be the advisor to the Prime Minister. It's on the similar lines as the Pakistan Prime Minister has. We don't have it in the Indian government. We don't have this arrangement. So it was quite apparent that the Bangladesh army was divided as far as the loyalties were concerned, and what mattered was the final view of the chief of the army staff, and the chief of the army staff, General Waqar-uz-Zaman, has been earlier a supporter of Khalida, this
Sheikh Hasina.
the Prime Minister, Sheikh Hasina, and he also saw the potent signs of what kind of a public reaction was happening. As a matter of fact, if you remember, he had refused an order to fire at the rioters, at the protesters, and the army did not want to fire at them, and the army was pro-protesters because they realized that the situation is going out of hand, and the people are genuinely angry, and it is not one segment of people. It was a large amount of population which these sentiments had been expressed. The second important aspect was that this was becoming no longer a quota agitation, as it was clear from the High Court judgment of 5th June to the Supreme Court judgment of 21st June, a gap of 16 days, 140 people were killed. So the anger in the people seeing so many people being arrested and killed indiscriminately, and what we saw the visuals on your channel was even more disturbing when we found that the student wing of the Awami League had weapons in their hands, and they were seen firing at the protesters. So once you see this kind of a law and order situation in the country, and you see the army can control people to an extent, and beyond that, if you have to control, you have to fire. You have to fire for effect. And that the army didn't want to do, as we saw later on. All the residential palace was open, the gates were open, the people were entering, people were on the top of tanks and all that. So it was quite apparent that the army was not with her, and she realized, and I think the chief also convinced her to leave and to resign and leave, because it would have been in her best interest if she left, and a regime change was inevitable, I would say that, because on that day when she has actually resigned, a regime change is inevitable. And lastly, there is not going to be any Awami League on the scene for a couple of years as far as Bangladesh is concerned. The Bangladesh National Party chairman or the leader, Khalida Zia, was immediately released from jail. So all these dots, if you connect, you can see that there was a design in the whole plan, and army was part of that design, and bringing BNP leader back into the fold, and her son, Tariq Rahman, who has been banned by the High Court of Bangladesh to enter Bangladesh. He's a
Right.
person non grata. He's been now groomed to come back to Bangladesh and to head the BNP. And maybe he would be the next prime minister because Khaleda Zia, I think, is now too old. So she would like her son to now come and stand for elections. And it would be a foregone conclusion that it is going to be an anti-India government. So our government has got a very important role, especially the foreign policy makers, and all the intelligence agencies have their work cut out as far as Bangladesh is concerned,
Right,
because
absolutely.
we are hearing atrocities on the Hindus also, and on the temples also, and on the ISKCON temple also. There has been
That's a very interesting point that you raised there, sir. I want to bring in Group Captain Augustine Venod into the conversation as well on that point. Group Captain Venod, India said that our External Affairs Minister has in fact announced that it did not have much time to take a decision. Sheikh Hasina she fled within 45 minutes of her resignation, and a decision had to be taken by India on what is to be done, whether she is to be allowed safe haven in our country, for how long. And India took that decision, even though there is growing discontent and unpopularity of Sheikh Hasina is on the rise in Bangladesh. On the point that Major General Rajan Kochar also raised, I want to bring in your perspective. What is the balancing act that you think India needs to perform at this point in time? Because on the one hand, we've given safe haven to Sheikh Hasina, who's been ousted from the nation. And on the other hand, there is a likelihood that the new government that comes in power in Bangladesh may not perhaps be pro-India.
It's a good question. And, towards this question, I want to bring in two aspects to the focus of our viewers. First and foremost, India as a country does not have any expeditionary design, neither in its culture for eons, thousands of years, or many thousands of years, or in our constitution. We don't have the central kingdom kind of mindset which China suffers from. We live and let live, all our neighbors. I'll bring you to that. I mean, most of the young people who are watching us, probably including yourself, may not have been born. In 1988, there was a coup attempt in Maldives. So we, as military, went there. And that time, President Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, very, very similar situation. In fact, those, the attackers, the Tamil Elam guys, had already come to the president's house. They were like few feet away from killing him is the time. Last minute, he asked for help. And our IL-76 went, our Mirage 2000 went, and we saved the day for them, for President Gayoom. So whoever asks India's help, we are ever ready to help. Unlike United States, we do not meddle in anybody's freedom of speech or political affairs. There is not a single instance that anybody in the world can quote where India has meddled in somebody's affairs. We don't do that. We don't have that in our design. When somebody asks for help, he could even be an enemy. If Imran Khan had asked for help, we would have provided him help. So that is point number one. Point number two, and most important point is, I'm sure most of us have heard very recently Modi ji talking about, the way the young population and their aspirations needs to be addressed, especially in giving them some direction, including jobs. So the word is demographic dividend. Demographic dividend is a double-edged sword. Dodari talwar hai. If you don't give hope to the aspirations of the young generation, and most of this continent, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, Bhutan, India, put together, close to 50 to 60% or maybe more population are young people. out of which most of them do not have job. So that is something that I think Sheikh Hasina, misunderstood or miscalculated by announcing quota to the Mukti Jodhas, who are great grandchildren of the Mukti Bahini people. I don't know what the great grandchildren had, done for Bangladesh just because of the lineage. You give them some kind of a quota. The logic I have not understood, though I'm not questioning that. But the point is, if you do this, well, how much job are we talking about? In quota still, in Bangladesh, if you look at pure numbers, the government job that they were talking about is not even a few lakh jobs in a year. So the whole thing spiraled out of control because she did not have correct advisors, because you need to have all kinds of advisors, not only military advisors, economic, mathematical, physics, and all kind of advisors you need to have. Most countries have it. And secondly, it has to be a decision which is not my way or the highway. And thirdly, like General Saab said, if you let army or police let loose, a general dire and Jallianwala Bagh kind of situation would have happened, which no country, no army, no police would want. एक Jallianwala Bagh ये इस इलाके के लिए बहुत है.
Okay.
But what I feel sad, man, is the person who brought up this country on his feet, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, for 15th Amendment of Bangladeshi Constitution declared him father of the nation. I don't know what wrong did he do for people to bring down to his stature. That is something I really felt bad, because that man put his life on line to bring where Bangladesh is today. So did Sheikh Hasina. See, in her term, ma'am, see where it was economically, including the rupiah of Bangladesh was so down low.
Right.
It went beyond Pakistan. That was during Sheikh Hasina's term. She took wonderful economic decisions, and she was 6-year-old and totally committed to her country like her father was.
Okay.
So I feel very sad for that. Over to you, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Mishra, I want to bring you into the conversation, PK Mishra. I want to understand from you, what is the parallel then that needs to be drawn as far as the 71 liberation of Bangladesh is concerned? Because even then, PK Mishra, India did not have a choice but to intervene after several months of atrocities that were taking place in East Pakistan, but largely the refugee influx that happened from Bangladesh, or rather, former East Pakistan into India, is what prompted India to actively intervene back then. However, it did create resentment within certain sections of Bangladeshi population that were pro-Pakistan, which is something that Major General Rajan Kochar has also spoken about earlier. But I just want to understand from your perspective, back then also India did not have a choice. Today, when Sheikh Hasina was knocking at our doors to give us safe haven, India perhaps did not have a choice. But what, in your perspective, there needs to be done by India to maintain sort of a balancing act, as it has for many years with Bangladesh, even when Sheikh Hasina was not in power necessarily?
Kindly unmute. Yeah. Nice question you have asked. In fact, the border is international border with Bangladesh, very tense. I have spoken to Petrapol, I have spoken to Doki, I have spoken to even Tripura border, and so also in North Bengal, Kuch Bihar border. Things are very tense. And here I can well tell you, I think in 1975 when it occurred, in 1975 our helicopter, it reached Dhaka. And Sheikh Mujibur Rahman was asked to come to India, but he refused. The helicopter came back. But here what has happened? Things are different, because the situation is like pre-1971, it has come to Bangladesh. I will tell you a few facts. It's not that Wakrul Jaman asked Madam to hand over the charge and resign and leave the country within 45 minutes. Few angles are there. Number one is Tariq Rahman in USA, the son of Begum Jia, who was released immediately by Wakrul Jaman after Sheikh Hasina left Bangladesh. He planned it with ISI further. He was planning for the last 6 years to topple the government. And he was successful. And by the way, BNP is definitely coming to power in coming election, and it is Tariq Rahman who will be the Prime Minister of Bangladesh on behalf of Begum Jia. Second instance I am telling you, it's not only involvement of ISI, now involvement of CIA. USA has clearly asked Sheikh Hasina hand over this San Martin Island to us for naval and air base. That is just opposite to Cox's Bazar inside the sea. That was rejected by Sheikh Hasina. And both, USA and CIA, they have gone against Sheikh Hasina because of this. And straight, the report came out from United States that the last election was not correct. And as BNP did not participate on Sheikh Hasina, the election result of in favor of Sheikh Hasina has not to be is not correct at all. This shows it is the second planning of USA. Third, I am telling you, Xi Jinping angle and China angle. You see Myanmar, the Junta is ruling. The Major General was appointed by Xi Jinping. You see Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, again China is there, and Harman Tota is totally with them, and they have persisted. You see Pakistan, the Gadari is also there. Nepal, they have penetrated, and it was only Sheikh Hasina. And that is how, you see, they wanted this. So the Chinese angle is also there. They have done it through ISI and Pakistan to change the government, and the way they have changed, it was never hard. And the worst part of it, let's be very frank, we also couldn't advise it well in time to Sheikh Hasina that it is going to happen. And anyway, that is different issue. But I will tell you, I have spoken to the border areas. The Director General of BSF is at Petrapol border in the West Bengal border, and we had about 8,000 students who have come back to India from there.
Yes.
And about 13,000 more Indians are there. And our External Affairs Minister, he has already taken up the matter with Wakrul Jaman that they must get a safe passage to come back to India. But the third thing is, what about the 1.31 crore of Indians, Hindus, those who are there in Kustia, Rangpur, Noakhali, Silhat, and all these places?
Yes.
Attacks were there on their houses. Houses were burnt it last 3 or 4 days. More than 12 temples were vandalized. One Eastern temple was vandalized. And I'm telling you, I don't agree with Suvenduji, what he stated in West Bengal.
All right.
That more than 1 crore people will come. But there will be definitely refugee influx like that of 1971. Few Hindus will be coming through the border, along with Jamaatul Mujahid of Bangladesh persons, including that. We
all
have
right.
to be very cautious.
Meera Raja, I leave the last word with you, so I have a couple of minutes left. I just want to understand from you, what do you think, in your perspective, India needs to do as far as this balancing act is concerned, basis also the information that Mr. Mishra has just given out, and of course, this has been a worry ever since the protests started becoming more and more violent, and news started coming in that several people are in fact packing up and coming into India once again.
Devika, I think a strong message from India has to go that India is with the people of Bangladesh, and whatever government is elected by the people of Bangladesh, India is going to support that government. And India is going to engage with that government, and India has to distance itself now from Sheikh Hasina and her party, because we are not here to play favorites with each other. We have to talk as a nation to a nation. And not only that, Adani has already initiated some power projects in Bangladesh. There's that Tista Dam project. There is a rail line also from Akhora to Chittagong, connecting Agartala. That rail line is almost complete, and it's a very strategic railway line which I think the Chinese have objected to. So these are some very strategic projects which I think India should be concerned, and they should tell Bangladesh that whatever possible assistance to make Bangladesh a stable country, India is there as a friend. We should not align ourselves with any political party as of now. We should speak to the people of Bangladesh, assure them that India is your long-lasting friend.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.